It's time for the 49ers Rush Podcast. And here's your host, John Chapman.
What is going on, faithful? Welcome to another episode of the 49ers Rush Podcast. It is absolutely incredible to be with you today. Back-to-back days. We went live yesterday, went through Trey's sermon. Today, I've got a little bit of a special treat for you. We got a special guest. I don't do a lot of guests. So let me just say this. When I do have somebody on here, it's on purpose, and there's a reason why, and it makes sense. I'm not one of those guys that just wants to get a whole bunch of guests on. I'm selfish with my time. It's hard to schedule, conflicting, all this stuff. I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm a little bit of I'm a weirdo whenever it comes to this. This is my baby. I want to protect this. So, having said that, whenever I have a guest, it's a big deal, and a lot of time and thought went into that. So you're going to love today's interview. Just finished recording it probably about 15 minutes ago, and I'm going to play that for you now. It's about a 30-minute interview with Jason Aponte, who I'm a big fan of. Also, got to say, we're going to be live again tomorrow because the schedule comes out. I'm so excited about this. I love how the NFL is just creating and elongating the season. We're going to be doing 3 road trips this year with the 49ers Rush Podcast. So just understand, I'm going to have those to you by this weekend at the latest. Got to sit down with the wifey and all those things. Want to let you know where we're going to be. We're going to be tailgating together. We're going to be having the night before the game, huge party at a bar/event planning thing. We're going to be recording live. We're going to be doing drinks, giveaways, all kinds of stuff. You're going to be partying with the 49ers Rush Podcast. Not just going to be me bringing in a lot of backup. It's going to be a whole event, and it's going to be an absolute blast. So stay tuned for that. Also do have to say, what is up, Countdown Crew? I absolutely love it. We have 2 giveaways today, ladies and gentlemen, which I'm pretty excited about. And here's what we are giving away. The new 49ers t-shirt, baby. Beat by Trey. My microphone's in the way. So we got 2 giveaways today for the Countdown Crew members. So excited about that. One for Countdown Crew and one for the wonderful Patreon subscribers that make all these things possible. So do want to say thank you for that. And here we go. First giveaway right here. Joey Fitch, my man, Patreon member, #Countdown Crew. Absolutely love it. Reach out to me on Patreon, brother. I will get that shirt to you. And if you already have this shirt, then I'll get you another one, because here's the deal. You go down to the link in this video, the description. We have our own 49ers Rush merchandise page. Finally, thank you to Dale Dumont and Eat Sleep Fantasy for setting that up for us. We got all kinds of shirts available. No Leaks Guaranteed shirt. We've got Lynch Shanahan 2024. We've got all kinds of different stuff out there. The Beat by Trey shirt. I bought it for my whole family. I love it. I'm so excited about the Trey Lance pick. So if you want to check out some 49ers merchandise, shirts, mugs, cell phone covers, all that kind of stuff, that's available for you over there. And they help support the show. We don't make much, but I care more about getting some cool merchandise out to you guys. So congrats to Joey Fitch. He gets his shirt. Another #CC. I'm going to announce that giveaway after this interview. So, without further ado, you guys are going to absolutely love this. Here's Jason Aponte. This is a fun interview. It's about 30 minutes, and I think you're going to have a lot of fun with it. All right, faithful, we have an awesome surprise for you today. I am joined by none other than Jason Aponte, one of my favorite follows on Twitter, host of the Sprint Right Pod. You can find him on Twitter @JasonAponte2103. How is life treating you, man? How are we doing today?
It's going good, John. This is a great thrill to be here with you. I remember when I first started my Twitter profile, I always remember seeing you. And I remember there was a list that was out there about 49ers Twitter, personalities, I guess, or analysts. And I remember sending you a reply on Twitter saying, I'm going to get on this list one day. I don't know if that list is still flying around or anything like that. But honestly, man, it's just really cool to be here with somebody who, I respect your work a lot. And, a lot of people have been, asking for us to talk. So this is going to be fun, man. I'm really excited.
And it's perfect timing right now, and we're right after the draft, and for a lot of fans, they'll come in on the draft and who do we take, all that stuff, and they kind of dip out. But kind of what we and have hoped to do with the 49ers Rush podcast is educate listeners to kind of understand the ins and outs, which takes time. It's not just a draft grade and move on. And Jason, I think you're one of those people that understand scheme and personnel, and you're not one of those hot takey guys. We talked a little bit before we jumped on here, which I respect, because that's not really our job. Our job's to kind of entertain and educate and all those things. So, Jason, take a second real quick, man, and let my listeners kind of understand how you got started covering the 49ers and how you kind of got your podcast to where it is today.
So it's funny, when I first started, my Twitter profile, it was in the interest of boosting up my fantasy football podcast, right? Because I'm huge into fantasy football. I'm in like 57 leagues, and it was the passion that I had. It kind of fell into 49ers coverage just based on, following the team and giving a little insight here and there that I had. A lot of what I owe to how I've grown is just rubbing elbows with the right people, making sure that I've networked and things like that. And I think that was really huge of me to link up with Javi and do pods with other people and really just get my name more out there. So, I mean, honestly, what started was fantasy football, and for a lot of the stuff that people give fantasy football players a lot of guff. And honestly, those guys are some of the most intelligent people because they understand scheme, they understand roster construction, they understand play call tendencies and things like that. So that's where it started. And then it turned into full-blown, 49ers coverage. I started at 49ers Web Zone, writing a few articles there. And honestly, I know this is going to sound terrible, but when the pandemic happened, I was forced indoors, and, I had to really focus in on something. So I focused in on this, and, it's hard to be excited about something amidst something that's so horrible, and has affected so many people's lives. But without that, I wouldn't have been able to focus in on this, and it's helped me grow the podcast to where we are, and all the other things that have happened, honestly. So yeah, I mean, it just started with fantasy football, but just working honestly, and just just trying to have fun on the app. I think that's really what it is more than anything. And I think that gets lost on certain people.
Yeah, there's a lot of negativity out there, especially after the 2020 season and all those things and the Jimmy G hate, which I think that there's a place and there's a reason why those things take place. But man, whenever you're just getting beat over the head with these, negative, hot take, all this kind of stuff nonstop, it kind of... It stinks. I've helped a lot of people start podcasts over the years, and I think there's as many seats at this table as possible. It's not something that, there's only one or two podcasts I listen to as many as I can. But man, some of those, I don't want to throw any names out there, but man, you have to mute certain accounts just because I'm not a negative person. I'm not going to be. I root for the 49ers because I love them, and this is a fun process, and the community's been built. And I'm also with you on the fantasy thing. Eat, Sleep, Fantasy is something in my past that I got started with. And the one thing I will say is the amount of time that fantasy where the dollars are, that's where the information is. And with Vegas and betting lines or fantasy and offensive production, where that money goes, that's over $1 billion industry. They still pay some of my bills today. You got to give them respect with where that is. Well, with all that, Jason, let's jump into the 49ers and let's start talking a little bit about this draft class. And we got to start with Trey Lance. Absolutely excited. You trade up to number 3 to get him. Now, my question for you is, he brings a lot of new things to the 49ers. What is it that excites you most? Find that one trait, whether it's the big arm, deep passing game, returning to the 49ers, having a mobile quarterback, Shanahan opening up the full playbook, helping in the run game. What are one of the characteristics that kind of stands above everything else with when Trey Lance does step into the starting spotlight? What is that one thing where you're like, man, I can't wait for the 49ers offense to see this?
Yeah, I think it's the smarts and to be able to run a pro-style offense. He was making a lot of his own protection calls, which I think that is really the tipping point and what really drew Kyle Shanahan, to him. And they ran so many Kyle Shanahan concepts. We're talking straight up RPOs, off play action, bootlegs, things like that, leaks, all those sorts of concepts that everybody's familiar with Kyle Shanahan. But I really think it's the smarts and being able to run that pro-style offense. Being able to call out your protections as a 19-year-old kid. I don't think people really understand what that means, honestly. I think that when people, you're grading college players, you're losing the fact that these guys are kids at this time. At 19, I wouldn't have been able to decipher a defense. Obviously, you have to have years and years of playing football, but I think it's the smarts really is what people are going to see, and his decision making is really what I'm excited for because Kyle Shanahan is tired of having to draw things up perfectly and either the reads being missed or maybe the throw not being where it needs to be. So with Trey, I know that there's a knock out there about his accuracy issues, but the accuracy issues will never lead to interceptions. They just maybe they're just a little bit off. That's it, but that can all be taught. And I think that the smarts is really what the 49er fans should be excited about. And I think that's really what was the deciding factor when it came to who was going to be the pick at 3 for Kyle Shanahan, because he really needs a guy who's an on-field general who can, do some of the heavy lifting with him.
It was funny because, if we go back to after the 49ers traded up to 3, the conversation shifted from, all right, which quarterback are we getting to? All right, Twitter was set on 2 guys. It was Trey Lance. The vast majority was in the Justin Fields camp, and there's nothing wrong with Justin Fields.
Like me?
Yeah, I mean, he's a stud. If the 49ers would have got him, I would have been sold. One of the, I guess, tiebreakers or the reasons why I thought that Trey Lance would be the pick was you didn't see him get hit. And you didn't see his pocket, not necessarily mobility, but his just pocket presence. He navigated himself out of trouble before trouble arose. And that was one thing that kept coming across the field. And again, obviously, Ohio State and Justin Fields with what he saw, he's played against the big boys now. But, man, he just kept taking so many hits in the pocket, and it bothered me. And so the more and more film I kept going through, I was just like, gosh, I hate how much he's getting hit. And whenever I would do a Trey Lance game, then I jumped to a Justin Fields game, and I jumped back and forth, it just became very evident that this kid doesn't take hits. And you talk about the calling out protections. Pocket presence isn't just feeling pressure after the snap. It's setting yourself up into a position to be successful before the ball is ever snapped. And I saw that so much with Trey Lance. Everybody talks about the intelligence, and I don't want to knock Justin Fields. The acumen test that's come across, he scored the highest of any player that's ever taken it. Justin Fields is incredible, and I'm going to be rooting for him. I really want him to be successful as long as he's not playing against the 49ers. But I'm with you, Jason. I think the smarts are key, and how soon that's going to translate. Now, here's the next question I have for you. Because he ran such a comparable offense to the 49ers, how many starts, what would you put the over-under on 2021 with Trey Lance? How many games do you think he starts, if any at all, this year?
So I've been back and forth with this, right? I understand why Jimmy Garoppolo's here, and I know this team can be wildly successful with Jimmy Garoppolo, as they proved in 2019, right? Provided that he can, just play the games, honestly. I would probably put the over-under at about 5, but I would say over, I think. And it's not because of anything that I know, anything that I think. I just think that when you move up to 3, and we have a long list of quarterbacks who have been drafted, 1 through 4, 1 through 10, 1 through 12, who eventually step in and take the reins, even number 1 picks immediately, right? Sam Darnold started right away, but again, there was no quarterback to take those back. So I get that. So I'll set it at 5, but I'm going to say over, honestly, at a certain point. My fear with, the Trey Lance thing is, Jimmy Garoppolo, if he airmails a throw or has a below average game, then the pressure starts to build about, okay, where's Trey? When are you going to start Trey? And that's the discussion that's going to be around that. I don't think that's fair to him, but I do know that that's what's probably going to happen. So, I mean, I'm not foreseeing any bad play from Jimmy Garoppolo, but if you're just asking me for my opinion, I think that it'll probably be over 5. I just think that we see Jimmy Garoppolo starting week 1, most likely. And for whatever reason, maybe injury, maybe play, maybe pressure from, from Kyle Shanahan to make the move. One way or another, I think he's going to play over 5 games, I think, this year.
And it's interesting. I put out a Twitter poll, which you can only put 4 options, so you have to put them in kind of brackets. And it got almost 2,000 votes. And with the 49ers, again, Twitter, this is Twitter, 2 to 6 starts on the year got the most votes, got 46% of votes. So it seems like they're kind of lockstep with you. And even if we look at Jimmy Garoppolo coming out, let's say he has a bad start. Let's say the 49ers go 1-2, something along those lines in the first 3 starts. I still don't think Kyle Shanahan will make that switch. I understand the pressure and all those things, but remember how long he stuck with Nick Mullins last year after turnover after turnover after turnover. I don't know. I know he wants Lance eventually. I'm just not sure. I don't know. I could be wrong there, but I'm with you on the 5 starts thing. I think that is a perfect thing. And depending on when that bye week is, if that's a late bye week, then you circle the name calendar because it's in the cards. If that's a late bye week and, Jimmy continues to be Jimmy and just plays kind of what he usually plays where he has a couple bad games, that late bye week I think would be a huge, huge switch. Now, if we're focusing...
Yeah, usually when you see...
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Usually when you see switches, you see them after the bye week because, like you said, you get that 1 week of extra preparation. So again, it depends. We're going to see the schedule tomorrow, so we'll find out where that is. But I think that's a great point about what you were saying about the bye week. Honestly, I really think if you're looking at a place to start, it depends on where the bye week is. You could probably circle that.
Yeah, and then if bye week number 1, Thursday night game number 2. Because, again, that's that mini bye, so it would be after the Thursday night game if, something else happens. Now, sticking with the rookie class, which rookie, and I don't think it's going to be Trey Lance, if you're looking at this rookie class, who has the biggest impact this year? 49ers had an awesome roster, what they did with free agency, brought so many guys back. They didn't really draft too many starters. So out of this rookie class, who do you think is going to have the bigger impact this year, the immediate impact for the 49ers?
Probably Aaron Banks. I want to say Trey Sermon. I really do because I think Trey Sermon, I have him as the leading rusher this year. Again, whether that's, due to, we love Raheem Mostert, but Raheem Mostert does miss games and things like that. Trey Sermon kind of profiles more of a bell cow than Raheem Mostert. And I don't think the 49ers have had that sort of running back since Frank Gore. So I want to say Trey Sermon, but I really do believe, and I love Daniel Brunskill. I really believe that Aaron Banks is going to be the one who starts. I mean, you don't invest what you invest in the second round pick. For a guy, Brunskill would be amazing depth at the guard position and the center position because Alex Mack is a little bit long in the tooth as well, and he's shown that he can play. So I think it's Aaron Banks who's actually going to start at right guard. Interested to see how that affects the pass protection because we know on the right side sometimes there tends to be issues, and I'm not singling out one player. So I mean, if the pass protection from the right side gets better, and I think Aaron Banks will deliver that, I think that he's pretty much the best chance to start right away, I would say, if I was guessing out of all of them. Again, I just look at the draft capital. I just look at where he was picked, and I just look at who's in front of him. Like Daniel Brunskill is a fine player, amazing player, undrafted free agent though, right? And that's that's kind of what I'm putting my hat on is more the draft capital than anything.
Yeah, and on top of that, Aaron Banks is already 24 years old. So if he's not starting now, when's he going to start? One of the things that I'm really excited about with not necessarily rookie minicamp, but OTAs and all those things. Man, I'm curious who gets the first team reps first day. I know Kyle Shanahan's going to put his, wicked spin and like, oh, we got all these starters. They're rotating and all that stuff. But again, I truly do believe Aaron Banks is going to be the guy day one. I think he steps in there at 31 consecutive starts. Hopefully that continues and just is the mainstay. The perfect outcome here is Aaron Banks plays every single snap at right guard for the entire season. The 49ers would be very, very happy. Now, you brought up Trey Sermon, and I want to ask you this question too, because now I don't think they had any clue they would draft 2 running backs. But when Elijah Mitchell fell, they just went ahead and took him because they were really high on him. Who the hell is going to make this 53-man roster in that backfield? I think they're only keeping 4 guys. And if they keep 4 guys...
4 plus juice.
Yeah, 4 plus juice. So who would you think makes the cut? If you had to pick now who you think is going to make that 53-man roster just for the running backs, who comes to mind?
Yeah, I think it's funny that Elijah Mitchell fell because he profiles exactly like Raheem Mostert. And what 49er fans should keep in mind is that Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson Jr. are not under contract next year. So, if you want to get upset about 2 running backs, just remember that that's looking towards the future. So who's the odd man out? I think that if we're talking about who's going to be there, who I can set my watch to at this point, probably Mostert, Wilson, Sermon, Mitchell. Wayne Gallman's probably the odd man out because Wayne Gallman's money is not guaranteed. He could be. I think Wayne Gallman is solid. I love the addition, actually. But when you bring in who you bring in, especially when Elijah Mitchell profiles so close to Raheem Mostert, is basically like the 49ers are bracing themselves to lose Raheem Mostert next year and be able to have that same sort of skill set on there, which in this offense is invaluable. As you saw, Raheem Mostert's one cut, hit the hole and gone. Elijah Mitchell can be like that. So if I'm guessing who's the odd man out, I'm going to guess Wayne Gallman just because his contract is kind of the tip-off. It's non-guaranteed money. I don't think, like you said, the 49ers thought they were going to take 2 running backs in this draft. So I think after that, they have to reevaluate the room. There's still Jermichael Hasty. There's still Austin Walter. Those guys will probably be on the practice squad if I was guessing. But if you held my feet to the fire and you said the 4, Mostert, Wilson, Sermon, Mitchell, Mitchell, and Juice. Those would be the guys that I
Yeah, I'm with you there, Jason. And I think they wanted to keep Gallman. I think all along they're like, man, this fills out our room. We'll add one running back. We're going to be fine. But sometimes the draft just goes crazy. So why not load up, get that position filled? And again, as you said, it was so funny because the draft was going like, you draft Moore, you draft Banks, you draft Sermon, and you're like, man, these are all power like guys for the most part, and bigger bodies. Is Kyle Shanahan kind of changing what he's looking for? Then nope, boom, 4-3 running back. Like check the box.
Yep.
Shanahan go to Shanahan. It's what it is.
Yep.
Now, okay, staying on the offensive side, the position that wasn't addressed in the draft, and much to the chagrin of almost all 49ers faithful out there, wide receiver. Now, you brought in Austin Watkins as an undrafted free agent, but who in the world is going to be wide receiver number 3 week 1? Who gets that spot? Because I really don't know.
I think that the wide receiver 3 on this team isn't on this team yet.
Ooh.
So, in the slot, when you're talking about the third receiver, I love Austin Watkins. Wrote an article on him for 49ers Goldmine. When you listen to the kid talk, his work ethic is incredible. He talks about his mother having 3 jobs. He talks about the first thing that he wants to do when he gets his paycheck is take his mother to a dinner and tell her to quit one of her jobs. And he says, you don't have to work 3 jobs, you work 2. Another thing that really stood out to me when I listened to Austin Watkins speak was he was able to recount the one single drop that he had in his entire career. He knew exactly the play. He knew exactly what happened. That sort of attention to detail on top of what we saw in Mobile when we were down there was immediately what stood out. But that's an undrafted free agent. So if we're talking about wide receiver 3s that can start right away, right? On this roster, River Craycraft, Richie James, Travis Benjamin, those are names that are there. You can't really rely on any of those guys. So the 3 names that I'm going to point to that are out there still, or one that isn't, but it's possible. And I floated it out on Twitter today because it is a possibility. Golden Tate's out there. Golden Tate fits the scheme. He can block. He's a tough guy. We all know he doesn't like Jalen Ramsey. He'll get to lock up with him 2 times a year, and he'll also get to compete for a championship and not really cost much. Dede Westbrook, someone else that is out there that is coming off an ACL injury. I understand that, but profiles perfectly as a slot receiver. One more name, and it has to one domino has to happen first, or has to fall first before this can happen. Jamison Crowder. So when you look at the Jets, right, the Jets have Denzel Mims. They brought in Corey Davis. They just drafted Elijah Moore, who is going to profile right away as the starting slot receiver. Jamison Crowder is one of the most reliable, underrated slot receivers in this league. And he's, maybe he's got the injury bug, but that's right up the 49ers alley, apparently. But honestly, he's very solid, and he's somebody that can be brought in for very little and will give, a security blanket to anybody on third down, just like Kendrick Bourne did, right? Kendrick Bourne's job was to get to the sticks on third down, make sure that he's there for his quarterback. So any of those guys I would be fine with. Golden Tate is a better blocker than probably both those other guys. Jamison Crowder is probably right now the better receiver of the 3. But those are 3 names that you can look at right now that if they join this team, they probably would have a clear shot to start right away just based on their experience.
Yeah, it's almost like in the post-draft press conference, immediately it was asked, what's up with Jalen Hurd? Is he healthy now?
That's another thing. Yeah, I mean, that's another thing too. And I think that's what I took from that press conference. They're relying on him, I think. And I think they really believe that he's going to contribute. I love the idea because when you watch Chase Claypool in Pittsburgh, that's exactly the idea of Jalen Hurd. That's exactly what they wanted, right? So that anytime I see Chase Claypool go crazy, I'm like, man, I wish, that was Jalen Hurd. I get what they were looking at. But that was really telling to me, and I'm glad you brought that up about Jalen Hurd because it seems like they're ready to have him contribute and they think that he's all the way back. But my thing is, do we know that for a fact? And can you go into this season just saying Jalen Hurd and all these guys are going to be there and you're going to rotate in and out? I don't know about that.
Yeah, and I think the salary cap issue, I'm all about trading. Jamison Crowder would be unreal in this offense. It would be incredible. I mean, he is Trent Taylor, but good. And not trying to throw shots on Trent Taylor, but after his injury, he just wasn't there. He is an upgraded version in every way, shape, and form to what that is. It would fit perfectly. Now, the cash is an issue, but I think you can finagle some things. It's the last year of his deal. You could, sign him to an extension, make those things work. But it's going to be interesting. There's a couple position battles where it's just like, I don't know who's going to get that. And I think that wide receiver 3 spot is definitely going to be the ones that the fans focus on because we saw this offense. Last year, when Debo or Ayuk weren't in there, regardless of the quarterback, the offense shut down. And we did nothing to address this really in the offseason or in the draft, and that hurts. Which brings me to my next question, Jason. who leads this team in receptions, whether it's tight end. The last 3 years, Ayuk led it last year with 60 receptions. Last 2 years before that was Kittle with 85 and 88 receptions. Now, if everybody stays healthy, Debo, Kittle, Ayuk, I think those are the only 3 real options. Who should get the most targets / receptions in 2021?
Yeah, I think it's Brandon Ayuk. I mean, when you look at how quickly he picked up the game, and that's what I noticed right away. Stepping on the field immediately, I'm the man. I can beat coverage. I'm here to perform. Even Debo Samuel, we love him, right? And we understand how integral he is to this offense. It took him a little while to get going, honestly, and it took him a little while to get his snaps up. With Ayuk, he stepped in right away, maybe out of necessity because so many guys were banged up. But I think that confidence and the way that they used him, Kyle's always going to dial up those tunnel screens, those touch passes, those sort of things. I think that Brandon Ayuk is a downfield threat, and whether people want to, agree with that or not, I think that he is a legit downfield threat. And I think that Brandon Ayuk should see most of the receptions here because he can win one-on-one, and he is a stud, and he has that long catch radius with those arms. So, I mean, most teams, it sounds as simple as, you should get the ball to your best receiver. And I firmly believe that Brandon Ayuk is the best receiver on this team, even after 1 year. But I think that it should be that, like, not force feeding, but, I don't think that you can go through a whole season without giving Brandon Ayuk the lion's share of the targets, which would only open things up for other people and make this offense so much worse to deal with.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. If those 3 guys are healthy, I don't care if it's Jimmy Garoppolo, Trey Lance, this offense is going to be successful. I think the offensive line has been upgraded completely, but the problem is when one of those guys goes down, it just kind of shifts things. And so that's going to be one of those things we got to watch because I just really we spent so much damn draft capital at the wide receiver position, and I still don't feel like it's where it should be. We got our 1-2. I'm fine with that. I love Debo. I love Ayuk. They fit perfectly. Man, some type of depth. We just don't have any there. And so that's going to be interesting. Yeah. It's going to be interesting. Go ahead, Jason.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Lock and step. The only other thing is, too, is we love George Kittle, but unfortunately his play style, sometimes it's conducive to injuries. He may miss a game or two. That's why if I'm thinking about it, I'm projecting Ayuk to play all year with maybe Kittle missing a game or two. The same thing with Debo. Debo's injuries are not self-inflicted. It's just, whatever happens, they're kind of freak injuries, hamstrings, things like that. It's lower body stuff. It's never really anything that you can say, okay, your play style is leading to this or anything like that. Love Kittle and everything, but he plays so hard all the time, and he and sometimes that can lead to injuries. So that's why I think it's going to be Ayuk more than anything. I just think that, as long as he plays 16, 17 games, he should be fine.
Yeah, that would be ideal. And, man, it's so funny. Like, you get used to, you brought up fantasy earlier with the 16-game sled, and, you have these metrics. 17 games now, man. The numbers are going to be thrown out the window. Kittle broke the record for most receiving yards ever by a tight end, gets broken the very next year by by Kelsey, and now that's not going to last. We're getting all kinds of new record books, which is kind of fun. I'm a little bit more of a traditionalist, but whatever. You take it for what it is. Let's
the almighty dollar. The NFL.
Gotta make that money, man. And as podcasters, it helps us, I guess. That's the thing you go back to. You just gave me an extra week of work, so appreciate it, Goodell. Let's shift to the other side of the ball real quick. The defense. I think the biggest question isn't with a player or a position group. I think it's with the signal caller. DeMeco Ryans steps in. Relatively unknown. Never called plays before. A position coach. That's kind of all he's done. Never been a coordinator. Where do you think this defense picks up holistically, and what is kind of some of the changes that you think we'll see under DeMeco Ryans?
So last year we kind of saw a shift with Saleh to more man. A lot more quarters, a lot more man across the board. It wasn't straight up cover 3 across the board. It really wasn't. So I think that when you look at how the 49ers attacked the cornerback position in the draft, with Lenoir and Ambry Thomas, I think it kind of tips the hand that there's going to be a lot more blitzing and a lot more man. So they'll still be in their not their base defense, but the defense that they're familiar with, right? The scheme that they ran last year. But I think you're going to see a lot more man. I think that when you look at the draft picks, on offense and on defense, the 49ers pretty much, I feel, told you what they're going to do next year. You drafted 2 linemen, you drafted 2 running backs. Okay, we're going to pound the ball on you, and good luck trying to stop that. On the other side, you bring in Lenoir, you get Ambry Thomas. now that kind of leads me to believe that you're going to be trying to run a lot more man. They ran it last year, and especially when Akello came on at the end of the year, they ran it a bunch more, and Akello was shining that entire time when they ran man. So this is going to be a little bit of a change when it comes to cover three, because, you're used to the 49ers just playing straight up cover three and having people go get the quarterback. But now I think you're going to see some blitzes from different places. You're going to see a lot more man, and you'll see the only real question that I have with DeMeco is play calling in situations, right? Like the right play call on defense. And that's going to take him time. That's not something that anybody learns right away. The one thing that I always give Robert Saleh credit for, after year one, he progressed every single year. And last year was his best job, hands down. 2019, they had the best defense in football, but last year was his best job in my mind, because he had to generate pressure and he had to do it in different ways. And he, showing K1 at the line and then dropping him back and then letting Jimmy Ward blitz. It's great because you put on film that K1's going to be the person that blitzed the entire time, and that's in people's minds. But then you show him and then you take it away. Saleh did a masterful job last year. So, DeMeco's going to have a bit of a learning curve. There's going to be some growing pains and things like that. But I'm confident that he'll be able to get it down. He's experienced in the scheme. But I think that you're just going to see a little bit of a shift to much more blitzes. You'll see an extra man coming, whether that's from the secondary. KK always does that, but maybe now you'll see Jimmy Ward and maybe even Jaquaski Tart, jumping up, like he did in 2017 and blitzing a lot more. So I just see a lot more man. I see a lot more of blitzing when it comes to DeMeco Ryan. And I think that you can point to the draft class and how they drafted their cornerbacks to kind of tip the hand on that.
And also, man, just loading up on defensive linemen. Good Lord. They're 3 deep at all 4 positions. And you got some guys you can move inside and outside, some hybrid type guys. But yeah, basically said our linebackers are set. One of the best linebacker rooms in the NFL. You've got about 4 safeties that, you can kind of cycle through there. But I'm with you. The one thing I'm most curious about with DeMeco is how he's going to handle mobile quarterbacks, which we see a lot of them in the NFC West. Probably my biggest critique of Robert Saleh, and again, as you said, last year freaking increased 20-fold, was, man, he would allow one person or one play to defeat him early on in his career. And I think that's just one of those things where, learning and play call and all those things, he would never make first half adjustments for the first year and a half, things like that. It just would irk you when the same play would just show up over and over again. So I'm curious, we're going to have learning curves. This is his first time. But the good news is this, player, coach, all those things, you can't find one person say anything bad about DeMeco Ryans. He went to Alabama. I hate Alabama. But I love this dude. I loved him coming out of I hate that football program. They're very, very good and well coached. Uh-huh. But when he came out of the NFL, I love that dude. He's an absolute stud. All right, man, let's do this. Here we go. This is going to end us. This is going to wrap us up here. The NFC West. Cool. Most of the teams didn't really change much. Seattle lost a whole bunch of guys, brought in some 49ers. You got Arizona, big spenders in free agency again, pretty poor coaching staff, I think. And then, of course, you got the Rams, one of the most top-heavy rosters in the NFL, make that huge trade for the quarterback, Stafford, bring him in. The 49ers are just, man, they just keep adding and keeping everything that they had for the most part, and then drafting very, very well. Where's the NFC West power rankings as of today from Jason Aponte?
Yeah, no homer, but the 49ers have the best roster in the division. It's hands down, and you talked about it. Arizona can spend all the money on the best players from 2012 that they want. As long as Cliff Kingsbury is there, I am not afraid. I don't care, honestly. That would be the best team in 2012, honestly. Not afraid, honestly. Just when you look at the way Cliff Kingsbury just lines up DeAndre Hopkins on the left side and makes him run 3 yards out, it's just criminal, right? And so many games were won on the back of just Kyler Murray doing things. Cliff Kingsbury, if you're a 49ers fan, you want Cliff Kingsbury to be signed to a lifetime extension. You don't ever want him to get fired, because if God help us, when Kyler Murray actually gets a play caller, it's going to put him in advantageous spots, right? With Seattle, all they did was basically just add 49ers players, like you said, Akello, Kerry Hyder. No one's really scared of that defense. There's still, there's still friction going on there. I don't care what happens. Russell Wilson will be there week 1, but there's still something funky going on over there. The 49ers really were just decimated with injuries last year, and that's really what it is. The Rams are the only team that I can really see giving the 49ers problems, and here's why. Last year, I got to give Sean McVay all the credit in the world. He was completely in his bag. The week that I point to was when they played Tampa Bay. I think it was that first drive of the game. They immediately went down the field against the world champions, by the way. went down the field, ran the same play 3 different times, 3 different ways, and the Bucs had no answer. So Sean McVay, as we all know, Sean McVay is in Jared Goff's ear all the way up until the mic turns off, right? He's telling him where this is coming from, now you don't have to do that with Matthew Stafford. You don't. And now you have Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, Deshaun Jackson, Van Jefferson. Cam Akers is a baller too. I understand that they've lost a lot on defense. They have, and their defense is going to take a step back. But what they've lost on defense, they can make up with Matthew Stafford and that offense. So I understand, hey, look, you lose a lot of important people. You know, Johnson in the secondary, that can't be understated, I guess is the word, that loss. You know, you still have Aaron Donald, you still have Jalen Ramsey. The Rams are the team that really stick out to me the most because that move for Stafford really was like a push the chips to the middle of the table. And it was really Sean McVay just saying, look, I'm tired of carrying this guy. Yeah. I need to get somebody in who's going to give me a real shot at winning a championship. So if you're talking about the team that I'm most scared of, it's the Rams. But the 49ers far and away have the deepest roster in this division. Not even really close. You know, the only thing that can really derail them is just injuries. And I don't want to, put the jinx on it, but I don't think there's any way what happened last year with the amount of injuries can happen again. It's just impossible. It can't happen. So if the 49ers even stay relatively healthy, they're still the best team in this division. They still, in 17 games, can win 11, 12 games, especially when you consider their schedule is going to be a fourth place schedule. And now this roster is back to where it should be. And I think the vibes are back, with the Trey Lance thing. I think there's a lot of excitement around them. And these guys are ready to put to bed what happened last year. So, yeah, the 49ers are still the best team, and that's no homer in me. But that's definitely the best team in this division.
Yeah, I think Vegas agrees with you as well. Whenever you look at the metrics, they say the 49ers and the Rams, those are the two teams. Man, and it seems like as long as Russell Wilson's around, the Seattle Seahawks, obviously he's pulling that entire roster up. But gosh, man, It just seems like the writing is more so on the wall than any other time before. I wouldn't be shocked if the Seahawks finished last in this division. Now, they might still be, 9-8 with the new. It's weird with the new numbers with 17 games, but I wouldn't be shocked. If you're just looking at roster, they're dead last in the division for sure. How much does Russell Wilson make up over all those other teams? I don't know. Seattle is just impossible to predict this year. So any over-unders for them, I'm staying the hell away from. But, yeah, I'm with you. 49ers, Rams, those two are the clear cut. And then I think Arizona. And another funny thing to me is Arizona plays so well against Seattle. They match up so well against them and nobody else. It's what it is. But, man, Jason, I just want to say thank you. This is awesome. Usually I'm talking nonstop on here. It was awesome to hear your thoughts. Very well thought out, man. Where can the people find you, and where can they find your podcast and all your work, brother?
Absolutely, man. Thank you for having me, John. And, I'm happy that we're able to get this done. I had a lot of people ask me why we've never collaborated, and I didn't really have an answer for them. So I'm glad that we were able to get this done. So we got to get you over to my channel, too, this week, too, as well. But, yeah, for me, just, you can follow me at Jason Aponte 2103 on Twitter. You can subscribe to my channel on YouTube. And Sprint Right Option Podcast with Andrew Pasquini, the most underrated 49ers Twitter guy in the world. You can find that on Spotify, Apple, anywhere that you get your podcast as well. And again, John, thank you, man. And I'm happy we were able to get this done.
Okay,
man.
This might be the hardest question all day. What's 2103?
Okay.
Is there some significance there that you could share, brother?
So just two of my favorite numbers. When I tried to put Jason Aponte, regular, it wasn't there. And then, my underscore. So that's always been my number. So 21, I'm Puerto Rican. Roberto Clemente is 21, icon for us. And 3's always been my favorite number. So 03, I like it instead of 21-3. So, and then 2 and 1 equal 3. So yeah, 21 and 3 are my two favorite numbers. So we just put it all together that way.
I'm never going to see your Twitter handle the same. I'm a big baseball guy, so I love it, man. So
there you go.
Guys, go follow this guy. Subscribe to all his content. Trust me, you won't be sorry. I listen to everything he does, and I'm smarter for it. So thank you, Jason. Hopefully, I'm sure this won't be the last time. Really appreciate it, man.
No, thank you, John. It was a blast being here, man. Thank you.
All right, man. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. I just recorded it. I just listened to it again with you guys. It's been a lot of fun answering all this stuff in the chat. It's just me whenever I do these shows. So I want to answer every single person's questions. That I want to interact. That's why I started this podcast. Eventually, I'm going to have to hire me a producer that could do a lot of these things so that I can focus a little bit more time on the chat and stuff. But anyway, absolutely awesome guy. A lot of great content there. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. And again, if there are, I'm selfish with my time and my podcast. So if there are people that you really want me to do crossovers with and whatever else, let me know. It takes a lot of time to set those up. But if that's something that you guys want, this is not my podcast. I feel like it's my podcast, but it's not. It's your podcast. So if there are people out there that you want me to do crossover episodes with, man, light me up. Email me, 49ersrushpodcast@gmail.com, Twitter @JL_Chapman. That's where I'm the most active for sure. Now, real quick, do want to say thank you. Thomas Brown, appreciate the very generous gift that you gave. Thank you so much. It allows me to do a lot more giveaways and things like that, which is awesome. And we got another giveaway. Our first giveaway, Joey Fitch, he won the shirt. And again, if you want this shirt, Beat by Trey, it's the Beats logo, modified for 49ers. That's there for you guys. I put the link in the description of this video. Go check that out. And the second winner goes to Countdown crew member. Here we go. It is oldie but a goodie. Spy Nick Danger. Congratulations. Absolutely awesome guy. Reach out to me, Nick, so I can get your information, send that over to you free of charge, and get you guys looking good. This shirt is awesome. Me and my son wore this shirt today. So, like, Chapman household, we are all in this one big time. But this has been absolutely lots of fun. I like getting different people's perspective, which we don't do a lot on here. But what we are going to be doing tomorrow, get this, guys, it's schedule release. So I think the schedule is supposed to come out 5 p.m. Pacific time, our time, and not sure how they're going to leak that out slowly on NFL.com or if it's just going to be all at once. I'm sure they're going to blow it up and turn it into a huge event. But once that gets released, I get a little bit of time to analyze. I'm going to rank all 16 games in difficulty, most difficult to least difficult. That's what I do every single year. It's kind of cool whenever you've been doing this for so many years. You kind of develop, okay, yeah, when the schedule release comes out, this is what we do. We go over that, all those things, and we kind of look at that. So those are some things that I'm going to be looking over and getting that out. So tomorrow we're going live. Again, this weekend, when the schedule comes out, by this weekend, I'm going to let you know the 3 road games that the 49ers Rush is heading to with all those events. I'm so excited about this, putting a lot of time and effort, and it's going to be us hanging out, having drinks, talking football in person, just swapping stories, and increasing our community. That's what this is all about. So hopefully you enjoyed this podcast. Congratulations to Joey Finch. And Spy Nick Danger on your shirts. Reach out to me. I'll get those to you. We got more giveaways. It's the middle of the month and we're doing giveaways. I used to always just do giveaways at the beginning of the month, but now it's just like, you get a shirt, you get a shirt, you get a jersey. we just keep going, and I don't think anybody's upset about that. If you want to take part in these giveaways, it's free. It's all free. I pay for it all. All you got to do is subscribe to our live content. You can go to Facebook, Niners Rush. You can go to Twitch, 49ers Rush. You can go to Twitter, JL_Chapman. You can go to Periscope, JL_Chapman. You can go to YouTube, 49ers Rush. So many ways. Hit that notification bell. Hit that subscribe. We're going to keep growing. We're going to keep doing what we do. And that's all there is to it. You guys are incredible. Really appreciate your time. And, man, absolutely incredible. We'll be back tomorrow, man. So don't go too far. And as always, stay strong, faithful.